Today we'll be talking about factor by grouping, and this is a process that we use when we have 4 or more terms. So everything else we've seen so far has been 2 terms, or most of them have been 3 terms. So here, if you're noticing, these questions are going to have 4 terms. So here are our general steps. First step is to factor the GCF out from all of the terms if needed. So that's all 4 of the terms. Second step is to split the problem into 2 groups. Then we would find the GCF of each group. And then the fourth step is to write our answer in the parentheses. Okay, so your answers are going to look exactly the same as they have for all of our other processes. Okay, so we have our question 4n to the third plus 8n to the second minus 5n minus 10. And so we're looking at all 4 of these terms and they don't have anything in common. So the next thing is to split it into 2 groups. And so we're going to split that into 2 equal groups, meaning we're going to split it right down the middle. If we have 4n cubed plus 8n squared, and we're looking for the GCF there, they share a 4 and an n squared in common. So when we take that out, we would be left with just n, and then 8 divided by 4 is 2. Okay, and then in the second half of the question, we're going to take out a GCF, negative 5n minus 10. Since this first term is negative, in that group is negative, we're going to take out a negative GCF. So they share a 5 in common. Left-hand side would be n and then plus 2. So the way we know that we've done things correctly so far is this parenthesis should be the exact same. And since it is, we're going to write that once. And then this other stuff, the GCF pieces, are going to go in the other set of parentheses together. Okay, so this is our answer. And just like we've been doing, you can also check your answer by multiplying it together. So 4n squared times n is 4n cubed. 4n squared times 4, or times 2 is 8n squared. N times negative 5 is negative 5n, and 2 times negative 5 is negative 10. So you can multiply them kind of in whatever order you want to get this there. Okay, as long as you have all 4 of those terms, you're good to go. All right, let's take a look at another one. We have 2w cubed plus w squared plus 14w plus 7. So there's no GCF between all 4 of the terms, which means we're going to split it in half. Next, we're going to find a GCF of the first half, so they share a w squared. Left-hand side would be 2w plus, now w squared divided by itself is going to give us 1. So if the term that you're looking at is the GCF, then you have to fill in a 1 here. Okay, this was a binomial, so you need to have a binomial left in the parentheses. Second parenthesis, or second group, so they have a plus sign there, so I know I'm going to take out a positive number. These two things share a 7 in common. 14 divided by 7 is 2. Keep the w. 7 divided by 7 is 1. Okay, we know that we're good to go because those parentheses are the same. So that gets written once, and then the w squared plus 7 gets written as another parenthesis. So keep in mind as well, you could write this as w squared plus 7 and then 2w plus 1. You can put the GCF pieces first and then what they have in common, but that's kind of up to you. Okay? All right, so let's move on to this next one. We have 12p to the third plus 10p to the second minus 36p minus 30. So if I'm looking at all of these, they do have something in common. So they all share a 2 in common. So I'm going to bring that 2 out first. And left-hand side would be 6p cubed plus 5p squared minus 18p minus 15. Now this GCF of 2, we're going to just ignore for the current moment, and we'll come back to write that in. So we split it in half. 6p cubed plus 5p squared is going to have a p squared in common. Left-hand side then, we would have 6p plus 5. The second half of this, negative 18p minus 15, has a negative 3 in common. Left-hand side is 6p plus 5, so be careful when dividing that negative by a negative. You got to change the sign there. So our parentheses are the same, so we're going to write that once. The GCF pieces from our 4 terms will go next, and then this 2 we have to make sure we write out front. And that is our answer for that question. Okay, don't forget to carry that 2 down. All right, last one, we have 14x cubed plus 49x squared minus 8x minus 28. So they all don't have something in common, so we're going to split it in half. The first half, 14x to the third plus 49x to the second, they share a 7x squared in common. And left inside we would have 2x plus 7. The second half of the question, negative 8x minus 28. They share a 4 in common, a negative 4 in common. So that would leave us with 2x plus 7. Those parentheses are the same. So we write that once. GCFs, we write as another parenthesis. And that is our answer. So keep in mind, GCF of the entire question. That's not going to happen very often, but it could. Split it into 2 groups, so you should be splitting it in half, okay? GCF of each half, the parentheses should be the same here. That's how you know if you did it correctly or not. And then write it into the parentheses. That's it.